Good morning, 8th grade. So today for your independent lesson, we're going to be focusing on writing strong conclusion paragraphs. As you know, conclusion paragraphs are the final paragraphs of your essay, and they are used to sort of sum up what you wrote about in your paper to provide closure for your reader. A big focus that we had last week is making sure that when you're writing an essay, you're sort of assuming that the reader has never read the text that you're writing about and making sure that it's really clear. In your guided notes, we're just going to go through some ways that you can conclude an essay. So the first way is including a brief summary of the paper's main points. And I want you to put a star by this one because this is a really common one that we use a lot because we're writing about other texts. Some of these are going to be used a lot more when you're writing like a story or a narrative, but this one's really good for what we're doing. So go ahead and star that. The next one is ask a provocative question, sort of like a question that's going to have people have a strong opinion or a strong reaction to. Number 3, I want you to also put a star next to use a quotation. We use quotes in our writing all the time, so this is an easy way to kind of sum up, give that last really strong piece of evidence. Number 4 is evoke a vivid image. Again, that's more of like a narrative writing piece, but you can use it here. Paint a picture of what you're trying to get across to your reader. Number 5 is call for some sort of action. That's when you are writing something usually that's going to be a persuasive essay, when you want people to actually do something after reading your essay. Number 6 is end with a warning, which I'm going to show you an example of today. Number 7 is universalize, and we can think of that as like a universal theme. You want to make it a connection to more than just this text, but an overall understanding. Number 8 is suggest results or consequences. Again, this is similar to end with a warning or call for some sort of action, like what's going to happen because of this writing, because of this essay. We're probably not going to be using that a lot today or in our writing in general. We also want to make sure that we include transition words, things like in conclusion, finally, lastly. A restate of your thesis or this essay will statement, thinking about what is it that you wanted to accomplish in this essay and saying that again in a little bit of a different way. I always think it's a good idea to also include your title and or your author. I don't think you need to include both title and author always, but usually including one or the other so it's pretty clear what you're writing about. So our writing prompt is in Flowers for Algernon, Keyes is making a significant statement on the value of intelligence in our society. Based on Charlie's changes throughout the story, what theme is Keyes developing? You guys have been working on these essays kind of throughout all of last week and then especially on Friday, and we're going to continue to work on these essays today through Wednesday. But today I want you to be thinking about conclusion paragraphs. I know that a lot of us are not at the conclusion paragraph stage, so if this is something that you're not really ready to do, just follow along for now and then get started writing until you get to the conclusion stage. But this is kind of a sample conclusion. It's pretty short, and I want us to annotate for what are some things that are done well and what are some things that still need to happen. So in conclusion, so I'm going to go ahead and underline that. That's our transition word. So that's being used correctly. Charlie should have stayed to himself and stayed the old Charlie Gordon instead of caring about what other people think. I have analyzed Keyes' statement on the value of intelligence and the theme he develops. I'm going to underline this as well. And then I'm going to, if you want to just annotate right here, I'm going to insert a comment to do so. And the comment that I'm going to insert here, I'm just going to put it up here, is that while this last sentence, I've analyzed Keyes' statement on the value of intelligence and the theme he develops, is definitely restating. It doesn't tell us what the theme is. Or how it's developed. So it's not really a complete restate. It's sort of just exactly the wording of the prompt with no new ideas or new information. So looking at our list, it also doesn't really do any of these things. It doesn't really summarize the paper's main points, use a quotation, call for action, ask a provocative question. It really just is the bare basics of a conclusion paragraph. I like that it gives some of its own ideas and that Charlie should have stayed to himself and stayed the old Charlie Gordon. I like that it gives that opinion, but doesn't really give any more information or any answer to the prompt. So here's what I came up with as a rewrite. In conclusion, so again, I'm going to underline that because that's our transition word. Charlie should have stayed to himself and stayed the old Charlie Gordon instead of caring about what other people think. Keyes develops the theme, be careful what you wish for. There's our theme. Throughout Flowers for Algernon, that's also our author and our title, by showing how Charlie's decision to become a new person affects him in a negative way. That not only gives the theme, but explains how the theme shows Charlie's, or how Charlie's actions show that theme. By changing to fit in with other people, Charlie loses his identity. It's important to stay true to yourself and learn from Charlie. Be careful what you wish for. It might not end up the way that you hoped. So the strategy that I used in my conclusion there was to end with a warning. So I'm taking the theme and I'm actually addressing the reader by telling them to learn from Charlie's mistakes and be careful what you wish for. So what I want you to think about is, how are you going to end your essay? Do you want to end with a warning? Do you want to ask a question? Do you want to use a quote? Either way, you need to include what is the theme that Keyes developed, how did he develop it, and some transition words, and then one of our 8 strategies from our list. So you can either get started writing your conclusion now, or you can go back to your text to look at your feedback, or back to your writing to look at your feedback and start making your edits and write your conclusion when you get there. If you have any questions, raise your hand and good luck.